Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Advanced Podcast where we talk about life, leadership, and the unshakable kingdom of God in a very shaky world. Man, I'm so excited about this episode because we're on a theme here about how God is using people in the marketplace to fulfill the Great Commission. And I'm joined by two of some of my favorite people in the world, man. My friends, Troy and Terry Henry. We've been friends. You guys have been friends with our family and the ministry of Global Advance really since the 1990s. It's just incredible.
That's right.
And have been such a blessing in our lives. So these guys, along with, you've got another brother, incredible family, but you guys are your creators, your inventors, your entrepreneurs. You build things, you manufacture things, and also if you're watching, if you're listening, these guys are wearing cowboy hats right now. They're cowboys as well. But man, more than anything, what I love about you guys is you guys love God. You have a heart, of faith for the Lord, and you're generous with your time and with your resources. And both of you guys have walked through incredible times of prosperity, but also you've walked through seasons that are really, really challenging and difficult. And kind of like Apostle Paul said, I know what it's like to have plenty and to go without. And you guys have experienced both of those sides of the coin, but here you are, you're still standing and you're working, you're doing amazing things. So Troy and Terry, welcome guys to the Advanced Podcast. It's a blessing to have you here. And I want to kind of start off, with just talking a little bit about the whole concept of creating and innovating. And, it's something that you guys do, that God's put that gift inside of both of you. And you guys have created some amazing things over the years. The Henry Group, which was actually founded by
our father,
your dad, you guys' dad, has always been in this space of the bakery world and creating just amazing. If you ever go to their plant, incredible equipment and bakery ovens. Some of them literally almost half the size of a football field. It's just amazing. Brands that you guys would be very familiar with, like Sara Lee and Nestle and King's Hawaiian, and I love Hawaiian bread. Every time I open one of those buns, I think of you guys, man. But you created auto brazing systems. You're doing fabricated bridges right now, and I'm sure we may get into this. It's one of the coolest projects I've ever seen. An ocean energy system, which I think could be a game changer in the clean alternative energy space. And I'm always just fascinated by this. And you guys are, you're fulfilling the Genesis mandate, the very first commission, the first commission that God gave mankind, to be fruitful and to subdue the earth and fill the earth with his glory by exercising dominion. And so, man, I'm excited to have you guys. So my first question for you is, when it comes to, creating things or designing things, how do ideas come to you guys?
Me and Terry have both talked about that, and I'll let you start if you want. We both agree with
when I was a younger man, God would give me dreams in my sleep, and I'd wake up and I'd draw them, and it would be incredible. Some of them were incredible inventions, and some of them were the inventions to get me past the next job. As I've gotten older, it's more visions. That's more the things that I see in my quiet time. I'll be listening to classical music. I'll be just doing nothing. I'll be in my silence, and God will just show me things. I don't have as many dreams as I used to have, but when I was younger, I had more dreams.
Yeah, I would agree with the same thing. There's times when it's been a vision or something you wake up with thinking, wow, that was really neat. But like Terry is saying, a lot of times now it's when we get in that quiet place, when we can block out the rest of the world. For me, maybe it's I'm on the tractor or on a skidster, or I'm doing something that I feel is mindless, but I'm relaxed. A lot of times it's driving down the road. I rarely have my radio on because I'm either making a phone call, taking care of business, or I'm thinking because it's my quiet space.
Right.
So
that's amazing. And so I mentioned this ocean energy system, and Terry, you were telling me about this, years ago, and the math on this thing is not like 2 + 2 = 4. Like, this is some complex stuff. And you said that God kind of gave it to you, and like literally, you guys now, Texas A&M is partnering with you on this project, and it took them years to actually prove out the math that God gave you in a pretty fast, rapid, shall we call it a divine download. So maybe talk about that for a minute.
Okay, and on that one specifically, first I'm going to go back. I worked on. I was working on what I'd call perpetual energy 10 years before your dad gave me a word. In 2002, we were flying on a plane, and your dad said he had a vision, and his vision was, he said, I saw you on the cover of a magazine. I remember it was
Fortune magazine.
I think it was Fortune magazine, and it said, and he said, and it said the man that changed the world. And this was in 2002. Well, in 2008, I lost absolutely everything.
Wow.
I lost my house. I lost my barn. I lost my 27 horses. I lost all my vehicles, my tractors. Everything I had, I lost. And I was in a trailer park about to lose the trailer. And God gave me a vision. Not even give me a vision, he gave me a dream. In my sleep, I saw this energy system. Wow. And I saw it moving with the ocean. I saw it moving with the waves. And when he did, I had nothing else to do. So every morning I'd get up and I'd work on my computer, and I designed it in 3D, and I made it move back and forth. And at the time, we didn't know the math. We didn't even have a clue. I just saw it, and I knew it came from God. And then I called my brother, and I called another friend, Jeff Dees, over to come and take a look at it. And my brother captured that. He captured it. And whatever it was, God put it in my brother's heart that we need to do this together. And it wasn't that Troy more so did it, not to reap the benefits, but Troy more so did it because he wanted to make sure I didn't share it with too many people or do it the wrong way or have it stolen from me. So my brother came really with the mindset, I got to protect my brother. And
I told him, I said, I need to go to you with your meetings. I said, because when you're talking, you're not listening.
Yeah.
And so I felt like that I needed to be with him during those times. And it was just to protect. And it wasn't about the business deal. It was about the deal. It was about the outcome.
So I'm curious because God opened all kinds of doors for you, and to get in with like Texas A&M and their science, and I don't even know what they call that division. I'm sure there's a name for it, but
they have ocean engineering.
And so there's things out there that produce energy from the ocean, but what made it different about what you guys had when you brought it to them?
We can this system, and they've proven it out on their supercomputers, and they've proven it out. They've proven out that we can capture not only and convert 77.1% of the ocean's energy directly into electricity. There's not another system in the world that can even come close to it. Most of the systems that you see are out there are between 7 and 15%. The only time that anything's even come close to that is one time the U.S. Navy came up with a system that had waves at a certain pattern from a certain direction, consistently going the same way every time, and they were able to capture about 50%. Mm-hmm. Our system, from any direction, no matter what size waves they are, no matter what wave pattern they are, from 360 degrees around, it will constantly convert 77.1%.
That's amazing. So I'm thinking right now about just the awesomeness of God. And what Scripture confirms is the earth is the Lord's and everything within it. And here God just downloads something to you, this creative idea. And now, I mean, it's on the verge of being a game changer in the world. And I love how God uses those type things for his glory. Talk just a minute, you guys have been in all kinds of businesses over the years, and how help us understand how God has worked with you guys on just intersecting your faith and your work.
Okay. Well, first of all, we didn't just start, Terry didn't start with just the energy system or start in these bigger places in which to this day, we haven't made any money. It's all been an investment. This is all faith in an investment, and we're working on it, and we're hoping to get, actually not hoping, we're going to get a prototype in a wave pool this year.
Which is
at
a
8
big
a.m.
deal.
Yeah,
That's a big deal.
But we didn't start there. God never starts there, right? I mean, we started with our father building a plant in Paris, Texas, working for his brothers, and they built a 300-some-thousand square foot snack food plant. He was superintendent. And at the end of that, they really appreciated the job he did, how well he did, and he met a guy named Jerry Suggs on that job site that was laying a block, but they really hit it off. And our company started off, he quit the family business or his brother's business, started his own business. That was 50 years ago.
Wow.
And it was called Henry and Suggs until a certain point. And that's where it started. And then over the years, we've bought some companies, bought mostly IP, not really physical assets other than just IP. And that's what led us to from doing just installing equipment to rebuilding equipment in our industry to one company led to building the ovens and proofers and other equipment. And also our father bought the research development department from, it was Americo at the time, right?
Campbell Tackett.
Campbell Taggart. And because Anheuser-Busch had bought them. And then they realized there's more money in beer than was in bread. And later, so they sold off the research development to us because they didn't want to build equipment. And that's when we started building large industrial. We built their biscuit packing machines, some of the largest stuff in the world. Do like 900 cans a minute on 2 1/4 biscuits, and 720 cans a minute on the jumbo. So and it had some of the largest dough pumps in the world. So we built all that kind of stuff, and anyway, it kind of goes on from there.
That's
seen a lot of things.
Yeah, so kind of this creative entrepreneurship kind of handed down from you guys' dad to you, and now we're going to talk about later. Your sons and some of your sons are engaged with the work as well, which is just so cool. So give me some of your thoughts over the years of just seeing God at work through the companies that you've been stewarding.
Do you want to start with that,
brother?
Okay. Well, I mean, it's God. I mean, we've seen him at work in many. We really see him at work in the hard times.
Yeah.
We love the good times.
Yeah.
And we do give him credit for those good times. But it's the hard times and struggles that builds us even more. And although none of us like the hard times.
That's right. Yeah. Let's talk about that for a minute. Let's talk about difficulties. We all want to claim the promises of God, and everybody loves to claim promises. But one of the promises that actually Jesus gave was, in this world, you're going to have trouble.
Yes.
But take heart, I've overcome the world. And, Terry, you gave us a glimpse into a time, and you were down to losing your trailer.
I did lose it.
To, Troy, I know you've gone through incredible dry spells and tough times, but talk about clinging to your faith in the Lord during those times.
Well, so if I go back roughly 10 years ago, it wasn't like going through like one or two things. It was like I went through a season to where it was just everything was an uphill battle, and it was overwhelmingly challenging, from relationships to finances, to payroll taxes I couldn't pay, to everything, and lack of work, and then lawsuits and attorney fees because paying people slow, and I remember praying, and I'm like, Lord, how can you get glory in this terrible place? How can you get glory when I'm a Christian and I can't pay my bills?
Yeah.
And that really bothered me. And I would tell my wife, and it's like, I always dreaded Monday mornings were the worst because I was the first person on everybody's mind. So I had to really focus in on how can I focus on that and business and everything, and I really couldn't focus on all of it at one time. So I set a limit to myself. I'm going to deal with 3 to 5 really hard issues today, and then that would be the first thing I did, and I'd set my day to focus on business and everything else. But one of the keys to getting through that was I kept the communication open. I always made the tough conversations.
Yeah.
Even if they didn't want to hear it, even if it's like I can't pay anything right now, but I know you don't make it happen. And I tell you where God got glory through that. Later on, he showed me as we came out of it. And I had people that I owed hundreds of thousands of dollars that worked with me, stuck with me. And one gentleman sold his business for, it was, I don't know, it was somewhere around 75 million. And he was transitioning out of the business and introduced me to the new owners. And he said, one thing I can say about Troy, he's always done what he said he was going to do.
Wow. Let your yes be yes and your no.
Even though it couldn't do what I couldn't do, and I hated the hard conversations.
Right.
But at the end of the day, I was able to do what I said I could do, even though it took 2 years. And that's where God got the glory.
Well, and I think this is just be an encouragement to so many people that we may have a lot of people listening right now or watching that are going through their own really difficult seasons. And, to have building out a look in hindsight and have some perspective in the rear view mirror to see that, even when things were down, God was always there.
Yeah, I mean, because your frenemies will be quick to point out your faults. And I remember somebody at work for me said, "Well, it's wrong to owe these people." And I said, "Look," I said, "the Bible says, don't withhold good from those that it's due when it's in your power to do so." Right? And I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but I didn't have the power to pay. I didn't have the ability. But I'm going to pay them, and I'm going to take care of them. Yeah. And I did, and ultimately it worked out.
Yeah. And I think that's important that you did make good on it when you had the ability to.
When I had the ability. It was a 2-year process, and it was one of the painful things I went through. But God showed up strong, and we went into an abundant season that was incredible.
It's amazing.
I went from, like Terry's not losing. I remember we were at a point, I was really at a point at the time, a 40-year-old business, family business, second generation. Now I'm about to lose it. And I had bought out my older brother, and out of 120 payments, I made 116 like clockwork. It took me 2 years to make the next 4.
Wow.
Through the grace of God and all those things. A lot of bad things happen, but a lot of good things happen. Yeah. And I remember... I remember I got to share this. When I was having a really tough time, and I had sold some land, and I asked the bank, because I went from being on the advisory board of a bank that moved here to Texas, I won't say who they were, to being on the workout program with somebody out of their home office. And I called the guy that I was dealing with, because they were ready for me to move on. And he said, I said, "I've sold this piece of land. Am I going to be able to use that money in the business?" And they didn't let me do it. They had collateral on it. So I didn't owe anything on it, but they took the money. And then your dad called me. Said, "You and your mom were driving on the road," said that he was praying for me. This is like on a Monday. And he said, and one of the things he said was that he prayed and he felt like the Lord said that the banks would be controlled to the will of God and not to their own desire. So you fast forward a couple of days on a Wednesday. We always called it, we felt like we always had a miracle Thursday. That's when payroll was due. And we had a miracle for 2 years. It was like, I don't know how we're going to make it. And then we make it every time. Called my bankers. We had some money coming in. And I said, are we going to be able to keep this money? I need it for payroll and obviously for payables. And he said, "Well, I've already put a stop on your account twice this week, and they keep processing everything. So I guess it doesn't matter what I do." And it was like such a win. And it just filled my spirit with my faith just shot through the roof. I'm like, "Lord, I know you're right there," because it was tough. And so anyway, I think the encouraging word and then seeing God's hand on a regular basis.
Yeah. And you shared something really practical when you were just felt like you were inundated with problems from every direction. Jesus said, "Don't worry about tomorrow, because today has enough to deal with." And I think God gave you wisdom on your own capacity as a human being. Say, I'm going to tackle 3 things, and I'm going to focus
3 to 5 is what I did.
And I'm going to put boundaries on that, and then tomorrow I'll wake up and there'll be fresh grace for that day and strength that the Lord will, kind of like manna, for that day. And then, but the Lord faithfully helped you get through that season, just inch by inch. I'm sure the
Right.
days felt extremely long, and the season
They did.
felt
They
very
did.
long.
It was always nice when I knew I had enough to get through that week, and it wasn't often. And so, but yeah, I felt like the key to success in all areas of life is the communication, whether it's
Yeah.
with your wife, your kids, your business, your vendors, your customers.
Yeah.
The communication.
Just putting it out there and being honest and
And, yeah.
upfront, and putting all your cards on the table. Here's where we are,
Yeah.
and I think that shows honor and respect. It gains respect. as well.
You know, one area that I see that us men can do. You know, we can be called, we can be chosen. God can give us ideas, and we can have faith to carry on, and we can do all these things. But we have to be obedient too.
Right.
And a lot of times in my life, I found that my disobedience to God would take me out of the will of God, and God would discipline me. And it's not that I ever gave up or I didn't believe in God, but God would discipline me. You know, and I know God, you know, wants us to be more obedient than our sacrifice. You can't give even when you're going through things and you're putting your trust in God and you're giving to this and giving to that, you can't, your sacrifice of your giving will not outweigh your obedience to God.
Wow. Yeah.
And so that's what I've had to learn as a man, is to be obedient, because it seemed like I always had an ability to throw myself out of the will of God, and I'd have to go through a discipline season.
Yeah. Thank God for His grace pulling you back in,
And He always
And
did.
the
He always
Holy Spirit
did.
convicting you and bringing you back.
And He always did. It's just something that's something I did have to
Yeah.
find. But faith was not a problem for me. I always had faith in God, but I always made
Sure.
mistakes.